The problem with ESG when it comes into play is so often the ESG kind of baseline stops at the mine site or the processing plant. And there is a whole nother layer of unofficial supply side that goes beyond that, where we have countries where there's so much systemic poverty and racism that families, including children, are forced into artisanal mining. You know, where then the companies, mine companies, are buying kind of black market from those guys, but not really declaring that and not really being truthful about that. And so being able to capture the real data on the ground as it's actually happening is the biggest challenge for ESG. So ESG, you can like spend, and some companies are worried because, you know, to get ESG compliant across like all 8 categories is like, you know, £500,000 or however much money. It's quite a big investment, right? But even then, how do they get the data that's actually then reflective of what's really happening? So in 2012, I not so legally got myself from China into northern Myanmar, behind the front lines of the Kachin War, the war again, you know, between all the ethnic groups and the military junta. And this was 2 months after the military junta had broken the peace treaty with the Kachin people and bombed their capital city. And this is an atrocious war. I mean, I was in a refugee camp with little kids as young as like 2 and 5 that had not seen their parents, that didn't know if their parents were alive or dead, and then been marched through the jungle with their school teachers to get to safety as their village was being razed. These are real impacts, right? We're not necessarily seeing those impacts reflected in our ESG reporting. And so I think getting to that level of truth and transparency, from my perspective, is some of the biggest challenges, because whether we want to acknowledge it or not, these types of social and ecological impacts will ultimately affect the types of value returns we get from our commodities.